All right, let's dive into a feeling I think a lot of us know all too well. That specific kind of anxiety you get when a relationship feels like it's being lived mostly through a screen. We're going to break down that whole cycle, the waiting, the doubting, the wondering, all stemming from the silence on the other end of the line.
And it all kicks off with this line, doesn't it? It just perfectly captures that compulsive, almost frantic feeling of waiting. This is way more than a casual glance. It's like you're staring at your phone because you feel like it owes you something. Like there's a connection in there that's just out of reach. So that simple act, right? Constantly checking the phone, that's what starts what we're calling the waiting game. It's incredible how this huge internal storm can all begin with just one simple, repetitive physical motion.
And wow, the language here is just so on point. The person waiting isn't just a little impatient. They're trying to quiet a storm in my chest. I mean, what a perfect way to describe that physical, churning feeling, right? That chaotic mix of hope and anxiety and even a little bit of dread that just builds up inside when you're left hanging.
And you can see how that emotional storm just completely warps your sense of reality. Here, silence isn't just nothing. It's an active presence. It's a force that stretches out and actually distorts time, making a single day feel like you're on this lonely road that just never, ever ends.
Okay, so from there, this feeling really starts to spiral. We're moving away from the external act of waiting, and we're going inside, into our own head, into that internal monologue. And this is where the real damage starts to happen. This is where doubt really begins to take root.
And here it is, that classic battle, right? Your rational mind versus your emotional reality. You hear the logical reason, I'm busy, and you really, really want to just accept it. But that anxious part of your brain, your thoughts, yeah, they're just not listening.
And then comes that first dark question whispered by that inner voice. It's the big one, the foundational fear. It's that little seed of doubt that makes you question everything about how the other person feels. And from that one question, the doubt escalates, and fast. It's not just about do they care anymore. Now it's about the very foundation of the relationship. Am I a priority, or am I just a convenience? You know, that voice doesn't stay a whisper for very long. It gets louder and louder until it starts to sound like the absolute truth. And it's especially hard to ignore when the only proof you do get, those short, distant, careful texts, seems to back it all up. The evidence itself just feeds the doubt. And this leads to a really fascinating, but also really painful part of this whole process. See, in the absence of real information, our minds don't just go blank. Oh no. Our minds start to create their own stories to fill in the gaps. So, your partner's absence isn't an emptiness. It's actually the opposite. It becomes this palpable, overwhelming presence that just takes up all the space in the room and all the space in your head. And this captures the central paradox of the entire experience. It's amazing, isn't it? In these moments of high anxiety, silence is anything but quiet. It becomes the most deafening, all-consuming sound of all. Let's break this down, because it shows that painful gap between words and what's actually felt. They might say, I'm busy, but what you hear is, you're not important. They could even text, I miss you, but it just feels hollow, disconnected from what's actually happening. And silence? Well, silence becomes a whole narrative of rejection, a story you write all by yourself while you're waiting. So where is all this heading? It's all building towards one single, really heartbreaking fear, the potential realization that the relationship itself is fundamentally unbalanced. And what's so powerful here is what's actually being asked for. It's not some grand, sweeping gesture or huge promises. The plea is for something small, something simple. Just a moment of connection, a quick call, any little sign that you're on their mind. Just a simple reassurance. And this is the core fear driving this entire emotional journey. If you strip away all the waiting and the anxiety, it all boils down to one incredibly vulnerable question. Am I loving you more than you're loving me? It's a plea for equal footing. And then we land on this quiet but just devastating conclusion. The fear is no longer a what if. In this moment of silence, it feels like a painful reality. Which leaves us with a final, provocative question that I think applies to so many of our relationships. At what point does a lack of response stop being temporary and start being the response itself? When does silence become the answer? That's definitely something to think about.